And I guess today's host is me, Johan from Keyword, and also Jonas, which is the like co-owner of the company as well. And the agenda for today. So Jonas will dig into like the latest AI trends, and also then we go into a few cases that we have been developing over the last year. And then of course we have a bit of Q&A, but it's for the people in the room, not so much in the live stream. And then we have afterwork after. So for you who doesn't know, like us at Keywordio, so we are like a full funnel agency with basically paid search, paid social, creatives, marketing automation, but also AI and data and feed management. So yeah, basically all the channels we manage and help big mix of clients. But today it's more about AI. So Jonas.
Yeah, what we do within AI is that now we have done, I mean, for me personally, I think this is really interesting area. I actually did my master thesis for 20 years ago within AI for Scania. I built a neural network for Scania's engine department to simulate how 100,000 different versions of their engine block would perform. So I am really excited to see how you can use neural networks today. And what we are doing is that we are actually taking the world-leading foundation AI models from OpenAI, from Gemini, from Microsoft, and from Meta, and then we make custom agents of them for specific companies or for specific teams. So I'm really excited to see how far the technology has come during these years, and all the insane applications that starts to pop up everywhere.
Yeah, of course. And of course, yeah, we are a marketing agency, but so of course we are partner with yeah, some of the bigger brands like Google, Pinterest, Snapchat, also TikTok and Meta. And yeah, a little bit trust. So basically last year we spent over 1 billion Swedish kronor on all our clients' different ad accounts. So yeah, we work with a lot of data and test a lot of AI and that. So yeah, with more data, they take like better results. So we have a few different ways to work. So we have as an agency, then we come in and help you with basically all channels and strategic partner, etc. But we also do workshops, which is more like if you want to have like a Black Friday workshop, we can create that for you and different topics, etc. But also creative workshops. So if you want to launch a new platform or having like a new idea, that's another thing. We also do like shorter projects if you come in and want to have a bit of like help, or more like a bounce off ideas with us, and more like a consulting strategy. So we come in maybe like an hour a week or a month for a meeting. And a few of the brands that we have been working with is, yeah, basically from startups to global brands. It's a big mix of quite a few of them. So yeah, and Jonas, let's start with the AI section. And last week you were at a quite big AI convention, and did you meet one of the Nobel Prize winners, or you saw them?
Unfortunately, not. But I mean, I think many of you probably already have heard, but honestly, it is insane that 2 of the Nobel Prizes this year goes to things related to machine learning and artificial intelligence. What is even more insane is that if you look at the team here, if you look at Jeffrey Hinton, Demis, and John, all of them used to work or are working at Google. And I mean, this has actually never happened, I think, that, you know, during 1 week, suddenly a company have people from their staff getting 2 different Nobel Prizes. So in terms of the maturity and where the technology is, it's just insane when it comes to the Nobel Prize. Yeah, I think this is super exciting to see.
Yeah. And also, if you bought Nvidia stocks, you're probably quite happy right now. But
how many did?
No,
I didn't either.
No, me neither.
No.
But yeah, maybe you can explain why the stocks went up quite a bit in the last years, Jonas.
Yeah. So when you look at estimates on how much energy was used to train GPT-4o, It's actually similar to if we take Forsmark 3, which is the big reactor in Forsmark, and you run that for a couple of hours. So it's actually quite a lot of energy that goes into training these models. And why do you need that energy? Well, you need them to run the ships from Jensen. And his new ship that NVIDIA is about to release, the Blackwell ship, to buy one ship costs you $40,000. And the revenue and of course the valuation of this company has like completely skyrocketed. But what is also interesting, if you look at the share of revenue they have, so 48% comes from 3 companies that they don't disclose. But I would not be surprised if that is like Meta, Microsoft, and maybe 1 or 2 more. But these are actually, of course, the biggest use case where you see today on companies that actually really makes money on this right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And also, just out of curiosity, did anyone here use the metaverse or have used it or frequently using it? No. Kind of displaying on the Meta stock as well, like when Zuckerberg really pushed for the metaverse, and yeah, I don't think it really worked so good. But then he introduced, what did he introduce, Jonas, to make the stocks go up again?
They started to announce all of their work within AI. They started to release what they're doing. They started to release versions of Llama, Llama 1, 2, 3, 3.2, and then just completely kept pushing on that. And it's just interesting to see the reaction on the stock exchange. But still, I would say that this, as it is right now, has not turned into revenue for them, but they are betting for this for the long-term game. Of course, they have used AI for a long time in terms of smart recommendation engines and doing a lot of things, but releasing their own and also starting to communicate this. I mean, you even get, it's very seldom that you get Mark Zuckerberg to speak openly about things. When they release the Llama versions, he typically joins 1 or 2 podcasts, spends 1.5 hours to talk about how excited he is about this. So it's just emphasizing how important this is for Meta, and you clearly see the effect on the external valuation of the company as well.
Yeah. And but yeah, the main focus today is AI, of course. Yeah, basically, Jonas, can you explain a bit more what is a AI agent?
Yeah. So I think most of you probably in this room already use GPT. You probably play around with Gemini. You probably have a couple of other models. If you're in a Microsoft environment, you're definitely using Copilot. Translation, maybe you have a transcription agent. Most of people do that, but the custom agents, that is what we see is really the big thing coming, because that's, you take one of these foundation models and then you train them customized for a specific team, task, or a process. So it really gets to become an expert on that topic. And then I think also looking at what processes you can optimize. And we will show you some cases for this later today, but that is sort of the next step after this.
Yeah. And yeah, a little bit more deep about the AI. Yeah.
I think that when I first saw Spotify, it felt like magic. Like when you had Spotify and you just click play, it's like, why can this happen? Like, I don't need to download the music, right? I mean, that's really impressive. And I think any product that really goes big, it needs to feel like magic. And generative AI for sure feels like magic in many cases. And I think that will change sort of the expectations, because now streaming is something that everyone expects, right? I mean, I get really annoyed when I go into Netflix and click play and it doesn't start instantly. I mean, I cannot wait more than half a second before I feel like, Jesus, this needs to change, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that generative AI is not magic. There's really great work from a lot of scientists and mathematicians working on this. And like I mentioned, I mean, I used part of this technology for 20 years ago doing my master thesis. So this is not the new thing. But a couple of things that you should definitely spend 1.5 hours of your life watching this video from Gustav from Spotify, because he's really explaining how this technology works. Because I think it's important not just to go in and think this is a black box, this is magic. I think you actually need to understand what is a diffusion model, how does it actually able to generate text. And the simple things is that when people come up with the idea, let's take words, let's transfer them into numbers, let's put them into a vector, and then apply math on that. You can actually, okay, can I start to predict the next word? And then they did that, and they did it with bigger and bigger data sets. And then suddenly it started to produce things that actually looked very, very promising. So the big invention is there to go from words to numbers, start predicting the next word, and also using big neural networks to train this. So I really recommend this one to look at it. But this example is, I think it's really fun. So how do you actually produce an image? How many have produced images in GPT today? So how you train this algorithm, you take a picture of a house, let's say, and you say that this is a house, this is what it looks like. And then the algorithms go in and they add some noise, and then you remove the noise. Then you take this picture, you add some more noise, and you remove the noise. And then you do that a lot of times. So you get to a picture with only noise. What is it that you have created then? Well, you have created an algorithm that take an image and then mess it up completely, right? But the cool thing is that if you do this in reverse, you have actually created something that goes from noise to creating an image. And this is how the diffusion model works. And then if you do this with a lot of images over and over, you get a really effective way to produce images.
Yeah.
And I think this is, it looks simple. It is a lot of thoughts put into it. But understanding the basics is important, because it is not magic. So, yeah, we need to create more houses and use more noise. That's the conclusion from this slide.
And yeah, this is 4 generations of Theodorsson.
Exactly. So this is my son, Otto. This is my granddad, Torsten, and my dad, Peter, and then me. And if you look at April 2024, a large language model, how much data it was trained on, it is roughly 2 × 10⁻13 bytes that was used to train a big LLM. But if you look at Otto, he was 4 years old on this image. When you look at his eyes, the way he has seen the world, you actually know how much bytes that can go through the nerves into the brain from his eyes. And that was roughly 1.1 × 10⁻15, a really big number. But that is roughly 50 times more than the largest LLM model. So Otto has been trained on so much more data than the big LLM models. And Torsten, he's already 900 times more, right? So the point here is that feeding these models with text and images, and in the future, images, videos, screen recordings, that is the way to accelerate their learning. Because video is how we learn about the world. I mean, you don't need to be able to speak as a cat to understand if a ball is going to fall off the table. They don't need to speak. They have just seen that over and over again, and that brain has learned how to do things. So learning from video is going to be very important in the future for these models.
Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons Zuckerberg have like these AI glasses as well.
Exactly. It's going to be a lot of training data. And also imagine about Teslas with all their data that they collect on all the sensors right now. They are feeding insane amount of data into their training of the world.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the future is not going to be one model. It's going to be a lot of them. And it's not only going to be the big companies, it's going to be different versions. And it will be a lot of agents that are customized for specific tasks and teams, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite a few of them. So which one, like, you have a few that is your favorite? Like, which one do you frequently use?
Yeah, and I think this is a really good example. Like, I use many of them from OpenAI. We use frequently when we build agents Llama because it's very efficient. Gemini has a really long context window, meaning that you can actually feed in a whole book. So if you use Gemini 1.5 Pro, you can actually feed it almost all 3 Harry Potter books, and it can actually draw up a logic of all the characters in the books, how they stand together, because the context window is really big, which is very, very important for those kind of tasks, right? That's not something you need for every task, but for some tasks, that is very important.
Yeah. And I think there's a few different ways of working within AI, and maybe like a question to you guys, like, how many of you guys have the paid version of Chat GPT? Okay, it's a good amount. So maybe you can explain a bit different of the different stages of the AI versions and what you can get out of it and how we usually work.
Yeah. So I would say the first step that I would say everybody is on. I mean, OpenAI has more than 240 million active users now. Everybody use at least some kind of free version. Then you step up to the paid version. Depending on what paid versions you have control of, let's say, input data. You know that they are not training their future algorithms on your data. You have control of your output as well. But then what comes next is to actually take use cases that you found in your organization and then build custom agents to solve that. So for example, with Scania, we work with looking at, okay, should we look at the financial of all the truck financial setup, for example, or should we help a large sales team to create a sales coach that is specialized for that company? If you have a really good sales coach that's prepping every sales team member before they walk into a meeting, they will probably do a better job. And when you have those cases of AI agents that we're going to show you some examples of, then comes looking at the whole process. So you have a commercial calendar. You have 5 different markets. You need to create assets for all of those markets. You need to translate them. You need to do a lot of things. That's still going to be a lot of prompting, even if you use AI to do every manual task. So how can you actually optimize the process from a full commercial calendar to all the assets created, for example?
Yeah.
And then, of course, building full integration straight into products. For example, IKEA have in their app, Tradera has in their app, Lyko has on the website, and not everything needs to be a chat. Just because you think about OpenAI and that is the way, maybe you will actually never see a chat window. Maybe there's just happening things in the background. So, I mean, understanding where you are in this ladder, and then think about, should we take the next step or should we not take the next step? Because if you have things that you run this once per month, it is completely fine to run a couple of prompts on them. You don't need to build a full integration into the product. So, I mean, the principles are define the use case and the problem, evaluate them with a human in the loop, and then see how often does this problem occur. Should we do this every day, hundreds of times? Yes, of course. Then you need to automate things, but you don't need to. It's not about throwing AI on all the problems. It's about trying to identify the main potential and then work on those, I would say.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, like, how many of you guys have actually trained your Chat GPTs and like uploaded documents and like trained it to be, smarter, let's say? Okay, nice. Few good things you will learn them.
Yes, of course. I know we have a couple of people in the audience who does it. So,
yeah.
So that's great. But then, so which model is the best? How many have tested the O1 preview from OpenAI? It's the latest model that they have released in preview. It is built, it was used to called Strawberry when it was a development project inside OpenAI. It is built to be really good on reasoning. So, okay, I have a problem where I need to have a good engine about reasoning. So I pick the O1 because that is really good in terms of quality and be able to reason. Okay, I need to have an application where I need to be super fast, low latency. O1 preview will be very bad at this because it takes a lot of time. When you run it, you see it's actually reasoning a lot. Okay, I'm gonna run this a lot. The cost for this model is very expensive right now. So this doesn't mean that the O1 is best for all applications. Let's say that you need to have, you have 10,000 SKUs for an e-commerce, for example. You need to write a lot of product descriptions. It is a waste of money and energy and everything to run an O1 preview model to solve that. You need to take, okay, which one is the lowest cost? Okay, can we get Gemini 1.5 Flash to do this, which is a very, very good model, but very efficient? Do you need to have an like a customer support application in an app, for example? High frequency, low latency, it needs to be like this. And of course, you should find the sort of low price versions and then build something on top of them. So there's not one answer. You need to understand the use case and pick the one that is best for that.
Yeah. And yeah, what is the Blue Dot customer like? Who they are like, and can you explain a bit more about that concept?
Yeah. So I would say I am Blue Dot consumer today because I'm not using maps when I'm finding the way. And the thing with the Blue Dot, like many times, there are many applications today where you are the Blue Dot. You are the center of everything and the world turns around you. So when I open up Google Maps, for example, if we take the next slide, I am in the center and I have the map rotating around me.
Yeah.
And there are many companies trying to solve this, right? Because if I would go from this office to another place in Stockholm, there are many companies trying to solve this. Garmin GPS was almost a magic trick when it came, right? But it's not going to be a lot of people paying 3,500 for a GPS module that you put in the car. SL tried to solve this. It would take me around 15 minutes to get to this point, cost 45 SEK, for example. Voi tried to solve it. It's like a bit faster, 30 seconds, as long as I'm close to a point where I find a Voi. I know, Johan, you're a great Voi rider.
Yeah. Haven't crashed yet.
Yeah. Of course, Uber wants to be a part of this, and Google Maps is another way of solving it. But what I want you to think about is more like this example here. In 3 years, when it's going to be a lot more products with generative AI inside them, what's the expectations going to be in the future from a consumer? They will expect to get things served, customized for themselves. They will want to even have things that are completely built just for me, more personalization. And they want it definitely to be faster, cheaper, for sure. So the way to look at this in terms of what use cases you should look at, if we take the next one, I mean, now this was an example of me getting from point A to B. That was the problem for me as a user that I needed to solve. And there's a lot of different businesses that wants to be a part of taking that. But you should think about what is it that our business wants to do, what data and technology do we have, and can we solve this in a good way? Because the expectations will for sure go up in the future for consumers. And this is not going to stop, right? I mean, there's going to be a lot of different AI features for sure in the future.
Yeah. And yeah, basically, now you explain a bit more about the AI agent, but why should you use an AI agent as a company?
So Yeah, we have built now for the last year, we have built a lot of different customized versions. We have built it for sales team, finance team, marketing teams, analytics teams. And when it understands the business, it can solve problems that the general model will not be able to do.
Yeah.
We're going to show some more examples on that. But I think here, this is an example, like if I ask, what is a Scania R756, for example? And you see on the Chat GPT reply here that this is a complete hallucination, because this is not a truck at all. It's actually very confident on explaining to me what truck this is, and even like it's and then it ends like, yeah, just so you know, my cutoff date for training was 2022, so it might have come up with some new models. So it's just throwing that in the end. But if you look at the custom-made AI agent that we have built for Scania as a demonstrator, this is 100% accurate. This is actually not the truck. This is a back axle. It is a very big difference from a truck with a back axle, right? And let's say that you have a sales team that actually gets feedback and getting improvement, how they should suggest to use this product or not. It's extremely important that you have information that you can trust, right?
Yeah. And yeah, we'll explain like how we actually build this AI agent, because it's just not like paying the pro version of the ChatGPT. Like it's actually a little bit of work behind it.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, we use all of the different foundation models, and then we train them in different ways. But typically we use brand playbooks, big descriptions about the company. We use different analysis, could be an SEO, SEM analysis, could be content from the website, the CMS, for example, instructions. And also we have built our own database tool for this. So we have a custom-made database that take all the product data from a big e-commerce store, and then we push that into training this AI agent. So it actually learns about all the products, the whole assortment, and it can be continuously updated the same way as you actually put in a product feed for Google Ads, right?
Yeah.
And that creates a lot of different interesting versions of it. And I mean, being able to answer things correctly based on real company information, that is really very helpful for any type of company.
But it's also really good for like translations as well. Like as some people, it's like maybe the first way to get into it as well. Like I think Houdini, they had a no-go list on other language translations, and when he trained it, actually adopted, and it was spot on, like German as an example.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
and translation is a really good use case, and we have actually seen how many have used DeepL for translation. So we have actually built custom agents that outperforms DeepL on all the metrics, because it is custom. It knows your brand better than yourself. So, for example, with Work System, they have more than 7 markets. They have used DeepL for a long time, and we were able to build an agent that actually outperforms everything. And right now we're building a full integration into their CMS. So it automatically runs all the translation straight into the CMS directly.
Yeah. And basically, when you hire a team, like I guess most of you guys here like are either like CEO, CMO, or CFO, or somewhere around there. And like you wouldn't hire people to do other departments than, for example, if you have a web developer, he would probably not do the finance as well. So, and the same with like ChatGPT. So you kind of define your like web developer or the brand product, the social content person, and they actually train their own AI agent to be smarter in this case. Because if you can do your job quicker, you can do more, and you can be more efficient and basically do a better job. And that's how we train it for each like department as well. So it's very important that you don't use one GPT for all of them. Use one specific niche per like department. or per like job role. I think that's really good, and we use it quite a lot. So
yes, we do, and a lot of different versions of
yeah.
it. And like I said, I mean, the big thing starts to happen when you actually start looking at processes, because still many times when I speak to teams and people that are using a lot of GPT, there's actually a lot of work in prompting. You need to tweak and test it a lot, and sometimes you feel like, oh, come on, I should have just written this myself, because that would actually been faster than trying to prompt it. And if you look at the whole process, let's say that you have a commercial plan, you need to create 10 assets, they needs to be translated. That's going to take a lot of time, even if you use AI for each individual task, right? So then you can look at the whole process to see what you can automate.
Yeah. And then we have a few cases to actually go over. So
yeah,
if we swap places or swap,
yeah,
we will go into Chat GPT. And we start with Meli, which is a like interior design furniture company.
Is this shared for online as well now?
Yeah.
Good. Has anyone visited Meli? You should do it, because the store is the best store, one of the best store locations in Stockholm. It's just they open up now Slussen, and they have the sort of the front sea view to new Slussen. It's a really great place. It was not so great when they were building.
No. I think like a year ago, it was pretty sad.
Yeah. But this one is custom made for them, and when I asked them, they have used this roughly 6 months. When I asked them, like, is this nice to have or need to have? Everyone answered like, this is must have, because we are using this for everything we do. We write product description, newsletter, all copy and content for it. So I'm just going to show you a couple of demonstrations here, so you see. So and I'm going to run the examples here in Swedish, because these are mostly Swedish.
And maybe to explain, Luca, we don't say anything, but Luca is one of the couches they have. And let's see if that finds out.
Yeah. And in this demo, we, like you said, on purpose, we want to give a really shitty prompt, because like you see here, skapa ett, even misspelled nyhetsbrev, I see, for Luca. But the whole point here is that based on that, it knows so much about Meli, it can actually start producing the content from the get-go. And I mean, if we
so basically create a autumn image of a forest that is based on their feeds. Of course, it's going to look a bit painted or animated, but this probably gets better soon as well. And we can also prompt it to be more as a real image and not what do you call it, animated. Takes a bit of time, as Jonas said, with Chat GPT.
And I don't know how many of you have started playing around, because, like I said, many times today in GPT, you see that these images are AI generated. Completely see that, but they are releasing new features all the time. So, for example, here, just marking this part here, for example, and then say remove. More of the edit features starts to come here as well, and I think in terms of keep using and testing and learning, this is going to be a lot better. And of course, I would say for generating background images or setting the scenes, it is getting very close. But like we showed in the beginning here of the talk, like the videos on the person introducing us, that is actually, you will not be able to see that that was AI generated.
No. We show it afterwards with its sound. Oh. Yeah, so it's changing a little bit.
Yeah. So being able to edit and run this, but like you see here, that in this case, based on understanding, it can really fast get into what is the product and what is the theme. Do you have an offer? Then you can generate things really fast. So then we have another case that is more about my favorite topic, analytics and data. So I met Daniel Hervé for lunch for some time ago. And of course, right now he's super busy being the new CEO for H&M. But I think when I read the last Q3 report that he released, I think it was really interesting because on row 5, he mentioned that sales is not really where we want it to be due to weather. And I think all of you guys who work within like fashion-related products, I think you all have heard the discussion about weather back and forth, right? So we made an example to do a test with what's the effect of weather and sales. So for that, I'm gonna take one of our own custom made GPT-4 models. This is based on GPT-4o. And I'm gonna upload just some demo data for this.
Just shared it on the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we? There weather 2.0.
Do we have that? Always good with live demos, right?
Yeah.
So just to give you a quick view, this is demo data. Let's take one city, and then you can pull, let's say that you're pulling Google Ads sales numbers. You can pull data from online, and of course you can also pull weather data, both descriptive, like text, for example, was it sunny or overcast, or was it raining? But we were interested here in this case of what's the effect of temperature during the summer period. So typically when we look at sort of April to September, how will the effect of temperature correlate with sales? And is it actually a correlation with that? So and while it's working, I can just explain the correlation matrix. It's a way to look at when you have a big data set. This could be any data set, it could be any type, but just looking at what is the connection between different metrics, and is it really any connection between the different metrics? And this is actually, if I would do this with our data team, it will actually take quite a lot of time to process the data, reformat it to actually be able to produce this kind of correlation matrix. But just quickly to show you here that being able to generate this fast, it is very interesting. And now, since it's a demo, we are not able to show the numbers here, but actually from average temperature and correlation to order, we actually find that there is a correlation. The interesting thing here is that it is a negative correlation. So that means that if your temperature goes up, the sales goes down. And then you're like, okay, can that be true? Yeah, I would say that the assumption here is that, well, if people in Stockholm see that the temperature during summer is more than 15 degrees, then they will probably very likely be outside and not shopping. But if the temperature is very low and bad, then they will probably be home, be bored, and they will shop more. So being able to do these types of analysis really fast is something that will definitely help any type of business. And then you can do after like plot. Then of course you can ask more follow-up questions, and you can look more into the data. But like I said, this is more like a general approach. If you have a big data set, you can really do this analysis for it. And of course, like I said, the correlation is not the one-to-one correlation. But the thing here is that we see that when temperature goes above 15, there is definitely quite high density of case with lower orders. So then if you're in this period, you go into a week where the temperature is going to be 20, 25, and okay, should we push the marketing budget then or not? Probably not, because then you can save that for later, for example. But like you see, I could do this like pretty much instantly instead of sending it to a data team or spending hours to create something like this. So this use case is really strong, and definitely something that more people in organizational teams should be able to do.
Yeah, and I think like in between the seasons, it's very important as well. Like if you see this trend, I think this year was a quite unique case that summer went on for quite a while. And I think some days in September we had like 30 degrees.
Yeah.
And so if you removed all the summer warm clothes and someone needed something like that, that would be a missed opportunity in revenue. Instead of you pushing out like the rain jackets when it's 30 degrees and sunny, you're probably not going to buy rain jackets. So
exactly.
So we can be a bit more calculated with what ads alive as well.
Yeah. So how many has been playing around with these kind of more advanced analytics? You know, Carlo, you're on top of all of this. That's great. Love it. But I think this is very interesting. And this is just one example of more like analytics data that can give you new insights. So then we have the commercial plan. So let's say I'm a pretty big coffee company selling coffee. I probably have a commercial plan planned out for the year or for the quarter or for that. And of course, sometimes it's a high level. Sometimes you need to add more markets. Sometimes you need to spend more time on it. And like I said, let's say that we're gonna have the big self-care coffee push, for example. And you need to have 5 blog posts, you need to have Meta, you need to have Google, you need to have newsletter, text, etc. It can quite be a lot of assets. Adding the translation, this will quite turn fast into a lot of content, right? And having teams of marketing teams to go in and doing this all manually is not going to be as efficient either. So what we have built here is that we have built an agent. So this is the Coffee Inc. agent. So list our coffee. And if you see this agent here, it is just asking for approval. So this is reading straight in from a product feed. So this can be for a really big company with 100,000 SKUs. It actually has direct access to all the product information. This is not an image that is created. This is straight from the product feed. And it can, of course, feed multiple image, can feed potentially videos in. It can feed a lot of types of content here. So this model actually has access to all of that data. And then, of course, like I showed you, this one here,
Thumbs up. Oh.
And like you see, once again, the prompt is actually really bad here. It's I mean, if you put this into GPT-4, it will give you a very generic answer. This one here creates a blog, adds the product images, writes down all the parts. Like it actually goes in and doing all of this here in this case. So I love that that question comes now, because that's what we're going to show. Yeah. So this is the commercial plan, like I showed you earlier. The shape of this is actually just as a simple table where you have the themes, you have the start, you have the offer, you have all the information about the commercial plan. This sheet is the AI agent that we have created. Go straight into these sheets, pull out all the information, and I can just say here, generate one blog, one email, 3 social posts, and I can just change this if I change. So for the next month, before we start, like you see now, it's actually running all of this in the background without prompting. So I can just open up this as an example here. But this is the, was it the Fettisdagen example? So here, it runs all of the queries in the background, using the agent, producing all the assets. And I mean, for example, if me and Johan would work together, I would just add Johan here. And then I would read this, for example. And I would say, Johan, OK to go live with. And the question that you asked, like, is this possible to just actually put straight into the CMS, for example? That's exactly, because what we do then is that we actually just request this as an HTML format based on the format that you want to have in your CMS. Typically, you have a lot of CTAs, for example, that you don't want to move. And then you set the frame for how the blog posts have those CTAs. And then you only change the text on those landing pages. And then you keep the rest of the HTML intact. So that's how we directly integrate this into the CMS. So it actually doesn't have to go through. But the way to do it here is more like having an approval process for a team. So that is the example of when you look at the process. How do we go fast from a big commercial plan straight out to all markets, all assets, based on using an AI agent that is actually trained specifically on product knowledge. Then we have learn, think, and talk to AI. How many people talk to their AI today? I actually do this quite a lot as well. When I said this to Nordic Notes, Fabian, the founder, he's like, Jonas, we need to get you some more friends because I'm getting worried. But honestly, the custom AI we have built for them, it is extremely valuable. So for example, before we had the big discussion, they are launching their big showroom in New York, which is, if you're going to New York, you should definitely visit their new store there. It's really cool. But I had a big walk in Humlegården speaking to it. And it's just AirPods in, having the app downloaded, accessing it in the phone, and like, okay, we're going to do the launch. We have these challenges. What's your take on it? And that discussion, when I got back to the computer, just opening up that chat in OpenAI, make a summary, and then I had a lot better insights and thoughts how to approach that compared to not going there. So in terms of, bouncing ideas and talking to it, it's a very effective way to, because rewriting all of that is actually not so efficient, for example. So I think that's a great use case as well. So if you see me walking around in Humlegården, then you can you can stop me. How many people use Notebook, for example?
Nice. I don't think so. The sound doesn't really work.
No, but I can just show you. So Notebook is this is from Google, and this is what is actually behind the scene here is Gemini 1.5 that is working behind the scenes, and it's a bit of a different interface. So it's not sort of the chat experience. You actually upload resources. So, for example, Google used this themselves for their ads team. So they big what they called notebooks. They have a lot of decks on Google Ads, like hundreds of slides, and then they upload them, and then you can ask questions about them. And what is cool here is that this is what is called truth grounded. So this one only works based on the information you upload to it. So this one doesn't hallucinate at all. And you can, in one click, generate podcast about this. So I just uploaded, in this case, I uploaded the 5 YouTube clips, 1 PDF, and a lot of information. This is great for training sales teams. If you have an organization where you have a lot of deck, just upload everything and give access to the notebook. And then you have a pre-read of it, or even a study guide.
Let me explain.
Tackling the existing compensation plan. Break it all down, how it works, what it takes to succeed. So
we can. All that, but everything that you heard was AI generated, and it was based on the content that was uploaded, and it's really giving a deep dive in that topic. So, for example, for me, if I need to learn more about this, I'm a very slow reader. It takes me forever to read this, and it would take me a lot of time to watch all of these YouTube clips. But just putting all of this in, getting the summary, listen to this for, now it was like 10 minutes. I can actually ask some really good questions to understand the domain and the problem a lot faster. And then, of course, I can chat and ask questions about it as well. So I think definitely play around with the notebook. And it's also a good example of what I told you about the blue dot. Because imagine if people using these kind of softwares all the time the expectations on service will be a lot higher in the future, right?
Yeah, I think you sent me like maybe 2 weeks ago, like you uploaded or used to listen to this clip without any notice, and I was like, okay, wondering what it is. And as some of you guys know, like we have a podcast as well.
Yeah.
So I think you uploaded all our previous event and asked them to do a podcast episode, and it was pretty spot on, and like some pronunciation of Swedish companies was maybe not 100%, but it was really good, and I was like, oh, interesting. 2 Americans, and they have like pretty good accent, and it was quite fun to watch. So maybe an episode from us comes AI generated. Probably not yet, but maybe soon
for sure. Oh, but it's a great tool. Notebook LM, it's free, so definitely go out and try it. And if you want to be a guest on our podcast, we are doing guest shows. So reach out and let's have a coffee and see if we can set up an interesting discussion together.
Yeah.
So now that was a summary of sort of what we see, where we are right now. And then if we look at the future, reasoning is a super big topic for AI research. And this is Jan LeCun. He's head of AI at Meta. And he really points this out, that getting the models to actually not just predict the next word, but actually be able to reason is something that is going to be super important. And he's also really good on challenging, because he understands these models probably better than most people in this world. And saying that, okay, you can say that, yeah, but they are solving math problems today. Yes, for sure they are. And it's a good sort of example of like reasoning starts to get better. But is it reasoning, or is it just because it has seen a lot of different math problems? It's just trying out the same problem. So reasoning will be a big topic. With reasoning, you can do more advanced tasks, like with the AI agent that we showed you, that can go away and do more and help out more in the process, for sure. And like I said, when it comes to video, Meta is releasing a lot of interesting research paper on this. This is what they call video JEPA. So what you actually do, how you train them, that you take a video, because there is a lot of video, and then you mask part of that video. And then you ask the AI to actually predict what is behind the box. And then you can compare to see, did it actually predict what was behind the box or not? So that way you can scale up training and understanding the world better. So this is like future research area where people spend a lot of like energy, and a lot of chips from NVIDIA is working on this, right? But that's how you do to be able to train more on video. And like I mentioned, Llama 3 is actually one of the algorithms that even Spotify use behind the scenes. So not even companies like Spotify build their own foundation models. They are actually many times using the big foundation models that are out there.
Yeah. If you see like Zuckerberg's Instagram, if you see him sometimes, he posts a lot of AI Llama generated things.
He does, for sure.
I think the latest one was he surfing next to or behind a massive rubber duck.
So for us, when we do this, the smallest starter package when we build agents costs 26,000. And when we build these bigger examples where we have full integration of product data sets, it's 64,000. And what is included in those cases is that, like I said, just because AI is hyped now, you don't need to throw AI on all the problems. I think it's actually more important that you define what challenges you have first, and then see how often do we have these problems? Do we need to solve them? Will this help? I mean, having that done is very important. So we spend quite a lot of time trying to understand that before we start building something. And then when we build it, there's always going to be user feedback, right? Because It's not going to be perfect from the start. It needs to have iterations of changing. Is it hallucinating or not? What model should you use? Should it be a chat? Should it be a notebook experience? Or should it just be a search on the site or inside a sheet? I mean, what's the user experience? Do you build it for your customers or do you build it for your internal teams? There's a lot of questions on this that needs to be answered before you build something. But that's the approach, and this is how we work with this today. So yeah, with that, thanks for today.
Yeah, thank you.